Skia da 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 da. What's up? How we doing? Let me know if my audio and everything's okay, because last time that was an issue. I don't plan on that being an issue this time. Today's been hectic. And I'm pretty sure we have some things we gotta go over if I can even log into my TikTok really to see. Unless every video has been posted on my Instagram too. I think so, it has. But yeah. We should be debating in a few minutes here. I'm currently on my other phone just checking make sure the live is actually good on TikTok. Real quick, there might be an echo. Hold on a sec. Well, it's loading, so. Oh, I'm an idiot. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I think I fixed it. Oh, Lord. What's up, y'all? What's up? Let me check on my phone, make sure the live, because I'm live on TikTok, too. Just exit, come back. Everything good? I have no idea if it's actually live on TikTok. Hold on. Because I hit the, there's a little button that I had to press. And now I don't know if it's actually working. Can y'all in TikTok chat let me know if it's actually working for y'all? Because it just shows loading for me. But, yeah. So, essentially what's going on is I had a little bit of a back and forth with Joel Patrick, which is a pretty prominent, TikToker or social media influencer, I guess. He has like 1 million on Instagram, so it was funny. I was seeing some comments there like, oh, don't platform him. He has a bigger platform than me. But basically, I made a video that had nothing to do with... Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm actually confused. Let me go check on the actual thing on TikTok. Hold on. I might have to restart. Because yesterday it was popping up. Okay, I think we're good. I think all the issues have been solved. I just had to make sure. Okay. So, now some backstory as to why we're here today. This whole thing started because I made a video about this. There's a very viral video that went viral on TikTok where this one white woman is basically going, it's very difficult being a white person, because try being a white person, because if they say anything, and they list off the general bullshit that you hear when white people begin complaining about reverse racism or something because someone called them a paper towel or something. But she basically went through that entire list of like things that, why it's so hard to be a white person. And then a black creator responded by shutting down all her talking points. And then another creator responded to her going like, I just need to debunk this black woman real quick. And then he proceeded to lie and say a bunch of bullshit, to which then I jumped in and I responded to him, shut down all the points that he made or whatever. I think he went private for a time and then he came unprivate or whatever. But it was that's kind of where it ended. There's already enough layers there. Someone made a video, someone responded to that, then I responded. There's already enough layers, it gets complicated. It was done there, and then Joel Patrick jumped in and came at me and started trying to justify things that the dude said by saying like the Confederate flag that was flown at the insurrection wasn't the real Confederate flag, and then he showed another Confederate flag that's also the same. Like, there are more than one Confederate flag. The one that was flown at the insurrection was the battle flag, which is the one that everyone be flying. And then he tried to say, because technically it wasn't the national flag, that it's somehow not the actual one. He basically jumped in and said a bunch of bullshit. I responded to him. He responded to me this morning, like before I even woke up. I woke up and I saw that he mentioned me in a video, and it was the video that I just recently posted. So I was like, I'm not making any more videos about this dude. We can just debate. And after a day of, I don't know what he was doing. He could have been busy in his defense, but he's finally confirmed it, and now we're supposed to debate at like 3:30. If I can actually log into my TikTok with no problem, then I can show you some of the videos that I'm referring to. But outside of that, it's just been, oh my god, what the hell? Will Smith TikTok just popped up on my For You page. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are right now, and I'm currently just in limbo waiting for this debate to take place. Why is this so loud in my headphones? Jesus. It's a Confederate flag. Anyone saying otherwise is being intellectually dishonest and disingenuous. And I'd be lying if I told you I don't expect a lot of intellectual dishonesty, because the only way you can take issue with anything I've said in any of my videos is if you be intellectually dishonest. About him, at least. Because I said that he basically tried to bring up the fact that Japanese people were interned during World War II, were in internment camps, as a reason to say that, because I basically brought up a fact of like, in my original video, I basically went, because we were talking about like the concept of reverse racism, and I'm like, okay, let's think about this. What effect has black people saying they don't like white people had on white people? Sure, you get your casual, they called me a mean name, they called me a Mayo monkey or something like that, or you have that one tragic news story where it was like some 9-year-old girl couldn't go to her black friend's birthday party because their mom said that they don't want to hang around white people or something like that. Like, yeah, certain things are childish, certain things are actually like genuinely like, whoa, okay, that's weird, that's bad. But then I was like, okay, but what effect has white people saying they don't like black people had on black people? You have systemic discrimination. You have slavery that continued. Slavery wasn't because white people didn't like black people, but they used that hatred towards them as a justification to paint black people as subhuman in order to justify the enslavement of them. So you have things like that. You have things like sharecropping. You have things like the KKK. You have things like civil rights leaders being assassinated, voting rights being stripped away. You have systemic racism that has manifested itself throughout all of American history, to the point where something like an example I brought up was black people have 15% of the median wealth or median income of white people. And then he responded to that point about black people having 15% of the median wealth by saying Asian people had higher and Japanese people were interned in like 75 years ago. Multiple problems. Exactly, redlining. Multiple problems. You can't say that Asian anything is comparable to the black experience in America because, I mean, at least if you're going to use the internment camps to justify it. Because, yes, internment camps were horrible, but internment camps were for 4 years, and it wasn't all Asians or a majority of Asians. It was Japanese people, and those Japanese people, not only were they paid in the internment camps for the labor that they did, they also received reparations after the fact. So you're going to compare that to 300 years of African-American slavery, not internment, slavery, in order to say, oh, well, Asians had a higher wealth and they've been through trouble. They haven't been through the same systemic discrimination. They've been through systemic discrimination, yeah, not the same as black people, because black people were introduced to this continent as slaves. That's the difference. Asian people weren't. And a big reason why Asian people have a higher median income than white people now is because a lot of the Asian immigrants, or a lot of the second generation immigrants, or Asians, I mean, in this country, are their demographics are very skewed towards wealthier Asians who came here for education. And then the children of those people who are born in America, that is a lot of the base of Asian Americans in the country right now. So, no shit they'd have higher education or higher median income. That still doesn't mean that systemic discrimination doesn't exist. It's called the model minority myth, where they try to say, oh, one subsect, they usually go either Asians or people or Africans immigrating from like Zimbabwe or Nigeria. They go, oh, look at them. They're doing good. So black people, what's your excuse? As if the discrimination and systemic oppression are anywhere near the same for these groups. So it's definitely going to be a lot of misleading, a lot of things that might sound good on its face but are actually very stupid. I'm prepared for it though. Yeah. Exactly, literal slave patrols. There was literal slave patrols, generational wealth, all of the above. And yes, Japanese being interned during the middle of World War II is terrible. One of the most shameful things FDR did, if not the most, with no justification. Why are you rounding up people of a particular ethnicity just because you feel like they may be spies? Horrible. But it was not slavery, and it was not Jim Crow, and it was not sharecropping, and it was not redlining, and it wasn't everything that followed. Like, there's not been a period in American history where black people haven't been systemically discriminated against. That's just a fact. So, like, when does the debate start? It should be, I'm going to send over the link very soon. Actually, I'm probably going to do it now. I had to kick some of the other accounts that were in here. We're gonna probably get underway real quick here. I'm gonna send over the link. All right, the link has been sent. I'll wait and see whenever he joins. He also said slavery started in 17. Yeah, he basically was like that. That because I said 300 years of slavery, and now that was a lot of historians consider a pivotal turning point in American slavery or slavery in North America to be 1619, but there are scholars who believe that it started earlier than that, up to 1565. So 1565 to 1865 would be slavery on the North American continent of African Americans, or Africans to African Americans, which means that would be 300 years. But he tried to say because America declared independence in 1776 that there was only technically 89 years of slavery, as if the effects of slavery in the colonies that would go on to become the United States had no bearing on the black people living in there thereafter, just because we said, oh, this is a new country now. What? No. What? If you start a country in an area where there is slavery taking place, those people will feel the effects of that slavery, and their descendants will, regardless of whether or not the government takes a new form or someone else is in charge now. And then on top of that, if we're looking at the prison system, technically slavery still hasn't even stopped. And they left that exception in the 13th Amendment. So you can't even really say that it is ended 100% in the United States. So it damn for sure didn't just begin in 1776. And even if it did just begin in 1776 by whatever metric he's using, that means it's still going on. And it's still like a very long time. Do I need a moderator? I shouldn't. If he gets up in ante, because I was thinking about getting a moderator, but I also couldn't pull from a sample size of my fans because he'd say it's biased. B, I couldn't get some of my closest friends who I trust they don't really know that much about politics, so they probably could, but he'd probably say it's biased because they're my closest friends. C, I couldn't get like any other big leftist creator that I know, because a lot of the creators I know are left. I was thinking about getting like I Speak, see if he wanted to moderate, but he'd probably say it's biased. So I just, for the time being, it'll just be me and him. And then if he gets out of whack, you'll see it. But I have sent the link now. Oh, you just saw it. Jay's starting a round of his Sinister Six of Black. That's hilarious. So this is I'm getting it. Alright, he's seen the link, so he should be joining into the Discord at any point soon. Can you explain what you mean about slavery in prisons? No hate, by the way. So essentially, in the 13th Amendment, there is an exception for slavery if it's a punishment for a crime. So essentially saying that if you are being punished for a crime, slavery is a way that they can punish you to be doing a crime, which already opens the door. But then when you look at the expansion of private prisons, which are run for profit, meaning that they have to get more inmates in order to meet their profit and their quotas, meaning they lobby the government to make more things illegal so they can lock up more people so they can continue to maintain contracts with that government and continue to get funding. So when you're arresting more and more people for things that used to not be illegal or things that are just morally questionable, you are getting more free labor to contribute to that prison because they don't pay prison inmates. I think the most, like, I think the average inmate makes like 3 cents like a month or something like that. That's a very rough estimate, but I've seen the data on it before. You get paid little to nothing. There are multiple states where you still don't get paid at all as a prison inmate for the labor that you're doing for the state. So essentially, they made it a way to go, all right, you've done something morally questionable or something that we've deemed illegal, so we're going to put you in this prison, and by the way, you're going to work for us. We're not going to pay you, and you're not slaves because you're inmates. But no, the 13th Amendment has that exception for a reason. And he has just joined, so I'm going to hop in VC. But, yeah. It's like 3 to 10 cents. Yeah, that's what I figured. He's in the actual Discord, but he hasn't joined VC yet. Did I miss the debate? No, we're about to start now. Um, there are still some black people enslaved in rural Georgia in the 70s. Really? I need to look into that. I saw someone else comment that today. Yo.
Yo.
Yeah. Okay. Can you guys hear him? Okay. Can you talk real quick to like just test it?
Hello.
It says you're coming through, so I have to wait for chat to update me. All right, I think you're good.
Is it
Yeah.
supposed to be audio only?
You said what?
Is it supposed to be audio only?
Yeah. I would do video, but my camera is
can't
current. Oh, you can't hear me?
I mean, I can barely hear you. Like, it's really, really super quiet.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to figure it out. All right.
Is that louder?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Is this good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. They told me to turn you up a little bit. Okay.
Is this supposed to be a video or is it supposed to be audio only?
It's supposed to be audio only because my camera's being used for OBS, so it can't I need to get a different camera because I can't broadcast it to Discord at the same time. So yeah, we can just do audio only.
That's why I just use Instagram Live, but Instagram Live is really like if we were doing the debate on Instagram Live, sometimes it lags a little bit if everybody isn't on a fast connection.
Yeah.
And so you miss things that people say and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the bigger reasons why I didn't want to do it. But if you're ready to go right now, so basically we've had a back and forth about certain things in certain videos, and there's been a lot of contention on points that are really not up for argument, but we can begin wherever. I know one of the first ones was the whole Confederate flag thing.
So yeah, I actually made a full video about it, and I tried uploading it 6 times, and it just wouldn't upload. I can, I guess I could play it for you. I'll just read through what I put in there. So the Confederate flag, there have been 3 flags of the Confederacy that were recognized as the official flags of the Confederacy, and none of them were the flag in the photo that you pointed to on January 6th. All of them were either the Naval Jack, the flag of the Army of Tennessee, or the flag of the Northern Virginia battle flag.
Yeah, the Confederate flag, the X one is the battle flag and naval ensign. And it doesn't need to be the official one that represents the whole country for it to be the Confederate flag, and it's been the naval flag and the naval ensign and battle flag since the creation of the Confederacy. So
actually, it predates the Confederacy. The Naval Jack predates the Confederacy.
Yeah, it still is the battle flag of the Confederacy. So the contention that that's not somehow the real Confederate flag is just factually incorrect.
Okay, so what is the flag of the United States? What does it appear to be?
The flag of the United States is the Stars and Stripes, the one that we all know.
Okay, and what is the flag of the Army?
What is the flag of the Army? Doesn't each army didn't each branch of the Army have its own flag?
Right.
I know our naval...
Would you say that the flag of the Army is the same as the flag of the United States?
If the North broke off from the entire United States and then took one of the Army flags and used it as they ran into battle against Southern soldiers, then that would be the flag of the North. That would be one of the flag of the North. We could still use the Stars and Stripes one, but use one of our other ones for battle. And if some people in the future were to fly that one that we're using for battle and use it as a symbol of hate or whatever, then I could be that was a flag of the U.S. when it split off and fought.
So would you make a distinction between a flag of the Confederacy and the flag of the Confederacy?
No, because all of them were flags of the Confederacy, and when you're using a battle flag, and you fight under that flag, and then later people co-opt that flag to stand for anti-civil rights and everything like that, and you continue to
you just answered your question right there. You said later people did what?
They co-opted it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if people assume a symbol, do they have the right to the now meaning of the symbol, or is the symbol the meaning that it was given initially?
So would you fly a swastika flag in front of me and tell me that, oh no, it doesn't mean what I think it means because people co-opted it? Or when someone co-opts it significantly enough and it stands for a particular thing now, are we to recognize that that's what it means now? Because
Well,
you're not.
I've never seen a Jewish person fly a swastika.
Yeah,
Never
because
seen that. But I have
and
seen
do you want to know why? Because a swastika used to be a symbol of good luck, and then the Nazis took it and they co-opted it, and they used it as their symbol of genocide and oppression.
I've seen a lot of African Americans put Confederate flags on their truck, put it in their clothing, fly the flag. If you go into like Alabama and Louisiana and Georgia, Black people down there will have that thing flying in their front yard.
And do you want to know why? Because Germany came to terms with the very racist regime that was the Nazi regime, and they banned a lot of expression in that way.
Yeah, but do you think Black people fly that flag because they love slavery?
America didn't.
Do you think Black people fly that flag because they love slavery, or because they think it stands for Southern pride?
Bigger question: do I care? Because I don't care if you think
it doesn't matter whether you care. Yeah, I don't. I'm saying, what do you think?
Because what I think is the flag that was fought in a war that was about maintaining slavery for the South and reuniting the Union for the North. I don't care what the people in the South then think the flag was about when that is objectively what happened. So and things like the Lost Cause myth, and things like the Lost Cause myth are exactly
the Civil War about.
That's not a different.
Was the Civil War about slavery, or was the Civil War about states' rights?
That's not a different topic because that's not up for debate. States' rights to do what? Exactly.
To be independent.
To be independent. Okay. So when it comes to what people think,
slavery. So wait. Are you under the impression that slavery was about race?
That's a completely different question. And race was used as a justification for slavery. The original origins behind why slavery was done was economics, but they used race as a reason to drive and justify that. And then it did become about race when you ushered in laws that made it so Black people were born and died as property at that point. So it didn't initially start off by, we hate Black people, let's enslave them.
Black people were not born and died as property. Slaves were born and died as property. Are you familiar with William Ellison?
You carried the exact same either free or slave label that your parent did, meaning that there's a high likelihood that
is not the case. Are you familiar with William Ellison?
No, what is that?
William Ellison was a slave owner in South Carolina, and at the time of the Civil War, he had more slaves in the state of South Carolina than any white person, and he was one of 200 Black slave owners in the South.
What does that mean? That does not matter.
It means that if it was about race, then Black people that received their freedom would never think of enslaving other Black people because it's about race.
There's actually been
socioeconomics.
That's funny because there's actually been multiple studies conducted that look into the amount of Black people that own slaves as a product of financial or as a means to gain financially or to free their own family members. And there's very rarely was hold on that it's not very rarely. I believe like there was a study that came to the conclusion that it was around like 60-ish% was for financial gain and about 40-ish% was to free their own family. But even then, we're talking about millions of slaves in America, and at maximum, Black people owned about 0.5% of the slave population. So even pointing this out is a distraction from the main argument that the South did fight that Civil War to maintain their slavery.
If William Ellison was had slaves for his own family members, then why on earth would he be one of the most renowned slave breeders?
Did I mention what William Ellison in particular's motivations were for having slaves?
I'm saying he was a slave breeder, so if it was about his family, that's even more messed up.
We're not talking about him. I don't care about him in particular. I don't care about what one individual Black person had slaves in the South. I'm telling you that the meaning of the Civil War was for the South to maintain slavery, and that is not a debate. You said states' rights. It was states' rights to own slaves. That is not up for debate. That is a factual statement, so we can move swiftly along.
It was a socioeconomic issue for the South because the South depended on slavery for their economic prosperity.
So it was
they knew that they would be bankrupt.
Mm-hmm. So it is a socioeconomic problem. It is a socioeconomic. You just agreed with me. Thank you. I told you that it was
a race problem.
Okay, all right. Here. There are two distinctions that you seem to be conflating. You asked me before, am I under the impression that slavery was a race thing? And now you're saying that slavery was a socioeconomic thing or the Civil War was over socioeconomics because the South wanted to keep slaves. That is
because the South wanted to not go bankrupt if their labor force was completely
so because
destroyed.
The South wanted to keep slaves. Yes, that's exactly.
Which has to do with they wanted to keep slaves because of the labor, not because they were black. That's what I'm pointing at.
Okay, I don't care why the South wanted to keep the slaves. They fought because they wanted to keep those slaves. And a justification that they used for having slavery and enslaving black people was the whole white supremacy, black inferiority thing that took prevalence. That I'm not arguing arguing that
the states went to war for that reason, but individuals went to war because they had to.
I don't
Very
care
few
what
slave owners actually fought in this. No, it matters because it was a rich man's war. Very few slave owners were actually out there fighting on the battlefields themselves.
Okay.
Because they were considered essential personnel and stayed home and let poor people who didn't even own slaves go into battle for them.
This is a part of the lost cause myth as well. 30% of white Southerners owned slaves, meaning one in every three people in the South had a direct connection and investment to slavery. So that's not false. That is not false.
Only 10%. Only 10% of people in the South were wealthy enough to own slaves.
Oh my lord. So when you're saying 10% of people were wealthy enough to own slaves, keep in mind this was white males white women were not necessarily allowed to do that. So when you're talking about that includes white families, because white families directly benefited from the institution of slavery. If a white father owned slaves and they had a family, then what is the distinction there?
That's misleading information.
How?
So they would have benefited had the South won. But when the South did not win, the North went through the South and burnt the South to the ground.
So the South pretty much
started out again with nothing.
So the South did not benefit from slavery because they lost the Civil War.
No, the South was not able to benefit future tense from slavery because they lost the Civil War and had their homes burnt and their farms burnt and their means of livelihood destroyed.
Something tells me that maybe, just maybe, if you fight a war and then you lose that war, then whatever you were fighting for in the future, maybe you won't see a lot of that. But maybe, just maybe, there was a time period before and during the war.
That systemic racism has benefited white people in the South so much more than black people in the South. Everyone started at zero.
Hey, do you want to know why I got that argument from? Because years before 1865 exist. Meaning that the South and the rest of the United States, besides like the North, maybe, I think they ended slavery by like 1807 by the maximum, but the South in particular was benefiting from slavery every year before then, up until 1865.
No, they ended the transatlantic slave trade. If you want to sit here and tell me that having children work for 3 pennies on the hour in factories was better than slavery, I'm going to tell you you're smoking something.
Okay, well,
we have child labor laws for a reason.
I don't know where you just got on child labor from, but the importation of new slaves was ended in 1808. That does not mean that slaves did not just cease to exist at that point. People were born and died as slaves, like I said, which led to, in the thing that I cited in the video that I made for you, over 10 million African slaves residing in the United States in total. That's not saying the transatlantic slave trade.
You said 10 million were brought here, and the answer was actually just like 380,000.
Should we go to the video?
Forgot that America's.
Because
included Brazil. Included Brazil and all of South America.
Yes, and I regret to inform you
that more slaves went there than came here. And interestingly enough, they ended slavery later than we did, and black people are not dealing with the same stuff there that we think that we're dealing with here.
I regret to inform you that you may have not seen my video that I did 5 hours ago that has 41,000 views on you, even though I know you did because you responded in the comment section, where I quite clearly responded to your talking point where you said it was only 388,000, and I said yes, it was 6 to 7 million to the New World, which was the Americas. But if we're looking at that 388,000, in the article that you used, it says, amazingly, the 42 million African Americans in the country today were descendants of this few 388,000, because after the importation of slaves ended, slavery was still there. Those slaves had children that were also slaves, and that's how we got to the 10 million number. So, like, yeah, they didn't bring 10 million people to the United States, but through that 500,000 that they brought,
but they did
10
bring
million
10 million
were created
people to the New World. But they did bring 10 million people to the
yes.
New World.
Yes, and if you listen to the second half of what I said, through that 388,000 that was brought directly to North America, the 10 million were created because people have children. And those children were automatically born into slavery.
There were only 4 million slaves. At the height of the transatlantic slave trade in the United States, there's only ever been as many as 4 million slaves.
Well, at the height of slavery in the United States in the 1860s, yes, it was about 3.9 million slaves, but that's 1860, meaning there were slaves before then, and that's a 1-year census. If you're counting the total amount of slaves, African Americans who were enslaved in America since the ending of the transatlantic slave trade, since that 388,000, you get 10 million. I can link the study for you.
Yeah, but you can't do that because you can only count the time frame from the year that America became America to 1865.
So this is a different argument. I'll tell you why this one is stupid too. Why would you start the clock in 1776?
Because we're talking about the United States here, not all of the New World.
So is there a distinction in the systemic effects of slavery that can happen to black people because it happened in Virginia before Virginia was a part of the United States? Because there are colonies that went on to become the United States.
Is there a distinction between the slavery that happened in Virginia and the slavery that, say, happened in Louisiana or, per se, Florida?
If they all became the United States. Okay, there are differences in
there is a distinction because that's 3 different countries prior. 3 different countries owned that land. France owned Louisiana. Spain owned Florida, and England owned Virginia.
So in 1776,
those are 3 different, completely different cultures.
Yeah, in 1776, when the United States declared independence from Great Britain, did that all of a sudden change slavery in the states that would become the United States, or did it not? So those effects of slavery, no matter who were the masters, no matter if it was the French, the Spanish, or whatever, the effects of black people from that slavery in those states that would become the United States are going to carry over. It doesn't matter if necessarily the U.S. government was calling the shots.
People that were alive at that time, but you're acting like, oh, if my ancestors were slaves, that's going to deeply affect my emotional state to the point where I can't make a living in 2020 to America today.
That's another argument that I didn't make. You're all over the place today. But when it comes to systemic racism, that is like you can paint a lot of the origins back to back to slavery, but we never make the argument today that we can no longer make a living.
Systemic racism is greatly exaggerated. I'm not going to say it's a myth, but it's greatly exaggerated.
Based off of what? Because you feel that?
Based off the belief that the system is more racist today than it was 50 years ago.
Who believes that?
Do you believe that?
No, because nobody believes that. Nobody's ever made that argument. Okay, you guys then make that up.
Then explain to me, since we've 10x'd the number of African Americans in politics, we have more African American millionaires today than at any point in history. Since there's more opportunities for African Americans for education, explain to me why black people as a whole are not doing better today than they were in, per se, 1960.
Okay, so first of all, oh my God, there's so many assumptions there. If we're saying that, okay, why is there so many black millionaires? Because a lot of the cultural and a lot of the culture of the United States, when it comes to rock music, when it comes to hip hop, when it comes to everything, that's where you're gonna find a lot of the African American millionaires. Because these genres, at least rock, not anymore, but it was originated from black people. But hip hop in particular,
music industry accounts for 5% of black millionaires.
Yeah, and just because you're a marginalized group in a country and you happen to have a lot of millionaires, that doesn't mean
account for 5% as well.
Do you understand the concept of it is possible?
The majority of black millionaires
talking louder doesn't make you correct. Talking louder doesn't make you correct. Do you understand the concept of I can have money and systemic racism can still exist?
Oh, so give me an example of a racist law.
Oh my Lord, and this is when I know you haven't even looked into an ounce of what systemic racism is. Because yes, systemic racism can manifest itself through law. Does it have to? No. And if you want to talk about racist laws, not only are there still some that, like the voter ID law that just got overturned in, North Carolina, it was a few years ago, where they specifically targeted specific ways where black people were majority likely to go get voter IDs and made those illegal and made and struck a lot of black people from the voter rolls.
That's actually completely and totally false. The vast majority of voter ID requirements are driver's licenses. And if black people can't get driver's license, are you going to tell me that it's racist for black people to have a car?
So I'm talking about a specific specific case in North Carolina, which the Supreme Court of North Carolina ruled that they targeted black people with surgical precision. That's a quote. So for you to tell me that because you made it up, most of the things are driver's license. So that's not what I'm referring to, and that's just completely
So
lying.
what form of ID do black people get that white people can't get?
Lord have mercy. That's another loaded question, and you're going through all the talking
Give
points.
me one example of an ID that black people have that white people don't.
So I'm telling you right now, when it comes to voter ID, okay, because you seem to not understand how this works. When you take people who majority of the time or disproportionately are African American or disproportionately are low income, and you say, okay, I know that you voted in XYZ election, but for this election now, we're going to implement these laws where now you can't come in and vote the same way you have to. You now have to take time off work. You have to go get this. You have to go apply and pay for this new ID or whatever. Then you have to wait for that to come in the mail. Take the time off work to go get that. Then go vote and everything. A lot of people, especially when they don't have the means or care that much about politics, are just going to throw their hands up in the air and be like, okay, I'm just going to go to work instead of going through all this process to get this new voter ID.
To voter
so
suppression.
technically, yes, voter suppression, a form through voter ID. That's what that is.
That form of voter suppression would suppress people of low income and poor white
and who are disproportionately low income.
Do you know what? Honestly, I think that if people don't own property, they shouldn't be able to vote.
I appreciate that take because that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's how we started.
I honestly do. I'm sick and tired of listening and seeing people vote for absolutely asinine things because they're too stupid to do research on it and discover that, oh my goodness, this wasn't free. Like all these people that I saw take free money from the government during COVID. What?
That might be the most ironic thing that you said so far, that people are too stupid to do research on things. How in the world are we at a place where you're saying that people who do not own land should not be able to vote?
Why can somebody that will never pay a dime in property tax be able to vote on my property tax?
Okay. People who don't own land.
I want to know.
Wait. Do you know how houses work? When you buy a house, you do not own that land yet. You get a 30-year mortgage, and if you pay off that 30-year mortgage with interest in 30 years, then you can own that land. And even then, you're still subject to things by the city.
No.
So that name is on the deed. No. So you're saying that you're saying that people who never pay a dime in property tax.
Yeah, technically the bank owns everything. But if your name is on that deed, it is considered your property and you're responsible for it.
You just said that people who don't pay a dime in property tax shouldn't vote on your property tax. People who own houses do pay property tax. People who rent,
they technically own land. They're considered a landowner.
It's their property, but they still are paying it off to the bank. So as soon as you don't pay that off to the bank, it's no longer your property. Meaning that is a mortgage.
You can own the property outright and not pay taxes on it and get it taken by the government. So I guess technically no one ever owns property ever.
Are you saying that the people who should get to vote are the people who have amassed enough wealth to be able to reliably take out a 30-year mortgage, and then after 30 years of paying that off, they can then vote in the election?
No, I'm saying that the people who should be able to vote are people that will have actual skin in the game.
Everyone has skin in the game just because you're not.
No.
What?
If somebody is completely dependent on government assistance, they should not be able to vote because they're always going to vote for more government assistance and more benefits that they don't pay for. That's Lord, not appropriate or right.
Well, first of all, not only is government assistance a way in which we all benefit from society, because when you're getting these people the help that they need, you're making it more likely that they can actually sustain and not just all die off because they don't happen to have enough money. That's a system by which we are all benefiting. So yes, they should.
No, that's a system by which you're creating dependency. Did giving out coronavirus checks during coronavirus help save jobs, or did it create a workplace shortage?
What? You're saying that the checks that the government gave out created the workplace shortage, not the, pandemic?
Absolutely.
And people not wanting to work
during
the pandemic?
No, the pandemic did not create a shortage. The government's mishandling of the pandemic created a shortage.
From who?
Of labor.
No, I mean, who mishandled it?
The government.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before you leave?
What? Why are you laughing?
Because you've come on here and shouted a billion shotgun points out into the ether, none of which making any sense or having any backing. We've gotten to a point where you've said that you don't want people who don't own land to vote. We've said that slavery doesn't count in America because you don't count anything besides 1776. When that was,
I didn't say slavery didn't count. When did I ever say slavery
you're
didn't
saying
count?
that we should only count the slavery from 1776 forward?
No, I'm saying you can only, in the discussion of slavery in America, in the United States, you can only count as long as the United States has existed. That would be like saying, so your great-grandfather owned a bunch of convenience stores, so you own those convenience stores, right? No, I inherited one of them.
No, whoa. No. It's like saying your grandfather owns a bunch of convenience stores, and then you fight with the grandfather, you take control of those convenience stores, and then the slavery persists. Yeah, the effects of the people who are
am I responsible for the issues that the convenience stores had before I took over ownership?
I'm telling you that first of all, if you don't do anything to meaningfully end it and you have to go through a civil war with half your own fucking stores to end it, then probably you are responsible. And then on top of that, I will say, not even pointing blame, but the effects of those people who were in the slavery in those convenience stores will still be felt no matter who was calling the shots. So, yes, you can count this. If we're talking about the effect on black people today and the sharecropping and everything and you're tracing that back to the beginning of slavery. Hold on. And you're tracing
poor white people sharecropped.
What?
Poor white people sharecropped.
Yes, poor everyone has done everything, but when we're talking about disproportionality and we're talking about the long-term effects of a particular
there were
group
more
of people,
white people sharecropping than there were black people sharecropping. There were more white people that weren't rich than there were that were rich. It always has been that way.
There's always been more everybody who's not rich than everyone who is rich, and there's more white people in the country.
Right. So
that's
why
we use the word disproportionate?
In America
Do you understand what disproportionate means?
Do
you understand what disproportionate means? I'm under the opinion that personally, like, things like capitalism is an oppressing force to everybody. But when we're looking at specific ways of oppression,
socialism?
Did I bring up socialism?
Well, what is the other?
You're reeing today. We're not even discussing capitalism versus socialism, but I was answering your question as to why, not your question, your assertion that no one's been oppressed and it's only been black. No one ever says that. You guys make that up in your heads. When we're looking at specific forms of racial discrimination and systemic racism, whatever, that affects one group over any other group in this country. That's a fact.
How?
Do you want me to explain to you exactly how? Joel,
that's how a debate works, buddy. Joel, you explain your points.
Well,
that's
the debate works. You explain the points that we're here to discuss, and the discussion was over the videos that we made about each other. But if you want me to give you a dissertation on how systemic racism manifests itself, you have Google. Like, you're a very big content creator. I'm shocked that you come in here.
It's not my job to research for you.
No, you don't have to research for me. It's kind of the other way around, because when you come at me with weak points like you did, then that shows clearly that you didn't research anything.
Weak does not make it weak.
No.
Saying it is weak does not make it weak.
Yeah, proving that it's weak makes it weak.
I made an entire video. Let me see. I made an entire video, which you chose intentionally not to respond to. Let me see if I can look it up here.
Oh, the one where you were like, racism.
I made an entire video addressing you that you intentionally chose not to respond to. Let's see what it said. Hold
on. Let's talk about that video, because I said that I was gonna address that in a part 2, but that day I ended up going out with my mom shopping for like the entire day, so I couldn't even make your part 2. But the video was, I made a thing saying that being called racist scares y'all more than actual racism, and you responded by saying, why would you call all white people racist if they're not racist? Which is nowhere near what I said in the video or what I was even implying.
So who was your video addressed to?
Did I mention all white people or say that all white people were racist?
Who was your video addressed to?
When I say that calling y'all racist is scarier to y'all than being racist, that means people who get called racist. As in black people who get called racist, white people who get called racist, anyone who gets called racist, that the concept of that label being put on you is scarier than actually looking at why you could be getting called that, or the effects that racism has on people. That's what the purpose of the video is. You assuming that I'm calling all white people racist is
I've been called racist.
Yeah, and? Why?
And it does not scare me more than real racism. I've experienced racism.
It doesn't.
And it wasn't from who you would think.
Yeah, when I say scare you, I don't mean like, oh my gosh. I mean like you guys get up and antsy about that. Like, oh, how could I possibly be racist? Instead of looking at why you get called that way. When you stand up here,
are you racist?
When you stand up here and you say that we should go back to a time where only landowners could vote, like that is a very like you wonder why people may call you racist. Like
that has nothing to do with race. It has to do with whether or not people are milking a system and becoming dependent on the system.
Joel, who gets to vote if we go back to a system where only landowners can vote? What is those demographics going to look like? Because we've tried it before. And I can tell you what the demographics look like. We haven't tried that before?
Wait, would you say that more white people voting is a bad thing? Is that what you think is going to happen? More white people are going to be able to vote?
I'm saying, first of all, that is interesting framing. But I'm saying when you disproportionately have white people voting, like by a legal reason, like the same thing that happened when we had poll taxes and everything. Yeah, that's a big problem.
White people tend to vote Republican, and minorities tend not to.
Why is that?
Because minorities are very much uninformed.
Oh. Okay. I enjoyed this conversation, Joel. Are
you saying that they're informed?
Huh?
So tell me.
I don't make broad loaded statements about.
Okay, how many black people do you know that voted for Joe Biden?
Oh my Lord, have mercy! What does this have to do with anything?
Joe Biden authored the 1994 crime bill. No black person in their right mind should ever vote for him for anything.
And you know what the Republican Party was doing? Trying to make that crime bill tougher. So if you're suggesting that this solution was to vote for the Republican in that instance, you're wrong. Would I have voted for Joe Biden if it was up to me?
Not accurate. Bill Clinton was the president at the time.
Yes, Bill Clinton was. Yeah, and the
Newt Gingrich was in charge of the House of Representatives.
Bill Clinton was the president at the time, yes, and Joe Biden had a big hand in writing it, yes. But I'm saying the entire U.S. Congress and most of America at the time was very tough on crime, everything, and the Republicans were not trying to be the, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't do this. Nope, Republicans are trying to push it further. So the solution was not either in that case.
So you think being lax on crime is the answer?
That's another argument that I have not made that you just shoved into my mouth. I'm not saying that being lax
on
crime
you said being tough on crime was a bad thing.
Yes, that's literally what the era was called. It's literally been called the tough on crime 90s. And by tough on crime, I mean what they did was get, 60-something more penalties that could result in or crimes that could result in the death penalty, expansion of private prisons, expansion of all these things that aren't actually doing anything to adjust the reason why crimes are being committed, but just being punitive and punishment, which has not, like, that's not the solution to actually solving the institutional problems that lead to crime.
People to grow up and stop encouraging and allowing people to believe that two parents aren't necessary in the household, and that a family is not an important unit for development.
All right, Joel, I let you run with a lot of shotgun points here, but I think I'm gonna end it here. I appreciate you coming on. You're a very big content creator, man. Like, I suggest actually looking into the things you talk about before.
Bro, you have not proven anything. You've changed subjects every time I brought up a point you didn't like. Then
oh boy, when you watch this back. Oh my gosh. I've literally responded to the 1.5 billion talking points that you've brought up here. And we were supposed to only debate the videos that we made about each other and the points that you proved.
You didn't. You denied my very first point that I returned to you on.
What?
Which was you didn't know which flag was the Confederate flag.
Are you aware that this is being recorded? I'm genuinely concerned. Are you aware that this is being recorded and that you said and you showed me, oh, this one wasn't the Confederate flag. And I literally told you, nah, that is the battle flag. And then instead of saying, no,
that's
it's not.
Hold on. You're arguing semantics again.
You're the one who brought up this is not the actual Confederate flag, as if one of them is the Confederate flag that represents the Confederate States of America. The other one is the Confederate battle flag. What? Now it's not.
Confederate battle flag is not the Confederate flag.
Joel,
the Confederate flag is the flag of the Confederacy. If there were 3 of them, if you showed me none of them, that is not the point up for debate.
If your soldiers are fighting under a battle flag to preserve slavery, And then that same battle flag is taken decades later to be like, hey, we're resisting to African American civil rights. We're resisting to all this. And it's flagged by the KKK, XYZ. That flag, yeah, it's not the actual flag it's not the actual flag that represents the entire country of the Confederate States of America. It's still a flag that the Confederacy used. The Confederacy had camp flags, they had battle flags, they had the actual flags that represented the whole thing, and they had one final Confederate flag that represented the entire country.
No,
those were still all official flags of the Confederacy.
That represented the entire country, and you didn't know that.
What?
They had 3 separate flags that represented the entire country. They were time period.
That in the video that I made about you. So like, Joel, I appreciate you coming on, man.
See, this is what you guys do. You always refuse to concede any points. If I'm wrong, I will concede that I'm wrong.
You haven't conceded that you're wrong, and you've been wrong on everything. You were wrong from the minute that you made a single video about me.
Starters.
You haven't
made any points for starters. And actually, you made the first video about me because it was when I was talking to Lilina J about not criticizing America's slavery when slavery was still going on in India. And you said, oh, you don't need to fix a problem before you address someone else's. No, you literally do.
That video was also a billion ways misleading. You got blown the fuck out in that video, and you didn't even respond to me outside of my comment section. And then like,
I did not get blown the fuck out.
And then a few months later, you came and jumped in a beef that had nothing to do with you. And then said some more bullshit that I've debunked. If any of you guys are in question as to whether or not I've made,
everyone watching the video from my audience looks at the conversation and they're like, "Yep, Joel, you made good points." And everyone watching it from your audience,
if any of you guys are wondering whether or not I've actually made a point, not only can you hit the rewind button, you can also watch the multiple videos that I've made, that we've made about each other, and you can see the source.
And you kept making arguments like the point you made about the riot versus the insurrection. I don't know if you just watch CNN only, but an insurrection requires like actual violence, not people waving flags and shouting.
Did you just say that's all? Did you watch what happened January 6th?
I was there.
I thought you guys were I thought you guys were back the blue. Like, what happened? Did you not see the police officers getting beat on? The one that got stuck in literally the door because the crowd was trying to push their way into the Capitol. The fact that someone literally died because they didn't want it because they were trying to climb through and gain access to the chamber. Like, this was an insurrection.
No. Somebody got shot in the face by the police. They didn't have a weapon when they were shot. I thought you guys were against unarmed people being shot and killed by the police.
They didn't have a weapon when they were shot.
Because it's a white person?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's not because they were.
They didn't have a weapon when they were shot.
Yeah, and you want to know what they were doing? They were breaking into the Capitol building and trying to gain access. The whole reason why they were there was to...
Unarmed. Okay, and George Floyd using counterfeit money. Does that make his death justified?
Okay, Joe. Real quickly before I kick you from this call. Hold on. Really quickly before I kick you from this call. Does
committing a crime mean
Hold on. Wait. Really quickly before I kick you.
Because that sounds like a white supremacist.
Does a counterfeit $20 bill and breaking into the United States Capitol equal the same thing?
Both are federal crimes.
Oh my God. Marijuana is illegal on the federal level. Is that the same thing as breaking into the Capitol building?
If they're a federal crime, crime is a federal crime.
A federal crime and... All right, man. Great. These will get posted later just in case anyone has any doubts. Do you genuinely believe
that people thought that they were going to take over the country by breaking into the Capitol?
I don't.
Do you genuinely believe that?
Joe, I don't know anymore, man.
Do you genuinely believe that?
Have a nice day, bro. You're an absolute clown. That's great.
Go run away and
have a nice
tell everyone
day,
you
man.
won.
That's great.
Go run away and tell everyone you.
Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. How does he have 1 million? Get me 1 million on Instagram, bro. Get me 1 million on TikTok. How does he have 1 million? Mike G just came on this show and lost his damn mind.
Josh.
What?
Josh.
Yes.
He admitted to being at the January 6th.
Wait, he admitted to what?
Yes, he admitted to that, bro. He admitted to that. He was like, I was there. What do you mean? Bro.
You want to talk about federal crime? Sir, you can be indicted. Oh my God. That was the greatest discussion I've ever had. Wow. When I tell you the clips of this are going to go crazy on TikTok, Lord have mercy. And a lot of people will go, hey, oh, don't platform him. He has a bigger platform than me. That's something I said at the beginning. But also, people will be like, oh, you're wasting your time. You're just on a different level. And I appreciate the compliment. But when someone like that has 1 million followers on Instagram, you have to realize it's not just about me. It's not about me. It's not about how smart I think I am. It's about saving as many human beings as humanly possible from the bullshit that is whatever he believes in. That is what my main mission and my main objective is. I appreciate the compliments and the faith that you guys have in my ability, and I believe it's warranted. But whatever people I can get to watch this video and be like, I can't believe I believe this shit. Or, hey, the guy who I usually am watching, this dude Joel, might be full of bullshit. That is worth more to me than only trying to queue up debates with people who may be from some sort of academic, like, if you're a big-ass influencer and that's what you're pushing to people and you have 1 million followers on a platform, I need to be here to sit that shit down and let it be known that you shouldn't be buying into this propaganda. Lord have mercy. I love all of y'all. Thank y'all. My man said he was there. Okay, we have evidence, boys. The dude tried to say I didn't make a point. Like I didn't shit on every single point that he made. And I have video evidence. I had to make sure he knew I was recording. I hope you guys enjoyed it though. A lot of you won't learn anything from this because it's kind of like I'm preaching to the choir. If you watch me already, then you probably know in depth of everything that I already talk about. But I hope that, if anything, at least one person walks away from this going, yeah, nah, that looked really bad for Joel. This was very fun. My man confessed. He backed off through. And you want to know what's funny? That a lot of people ask me for debate advice. I promise you, I'm not like some ultra debate bro. I've been debating a lot recently, I admit it. But I'm not some like Socrates or some philosopher about debates. But one thing I can get that I can put y'all onto. Notice how every time he jumped, I always said, that's another argument that I didn't make. That's another argument I didn't make. Because when you just allow him to get all these assertions off without letting him know that he just jumped to a different argument, then it makes it like you're arguing all over the place. Before you argue against another one of these, I like to call it shotgun points, where it's like, it's kind of like a thing with like shotgun conspiracies, where they just fire a bunch of shit at you, and if one doesn't stick, you disprove one, then they just jump to the other, then they jump to the other. It's like shotgun arguments. The moment you can point out every time they pull that trigger of that shotgun, and there's another argument here, another argument there, another argument there, then you can effectively debunk it and make him look like an idiot because you're not sticking to the original topic. So that's one thing I can put y'all onto for debating. Am I late? You just missed the greatest. You're just late for the greatest thing to ever happen. That was hilarious. Minorities are usually uninformed, Joel Patrick. And then he tried to say that it was a white supremacist talking point that I apparently said that people deserve to die for committing crime. I don't even remember what he said, G. I don't even know. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Yeah, no, that wasn't. I usually am not the type to be like, oh, well, that was a dub on stream. But when you debate in bad faith and don't even make a singular point, then it has to be known. I blew that nigga the fuck out. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah, you missed it. You can rewind, though. It'll be a full video. Yeah. This man really tried to use a voter suppression tactic and said it wasn't racist. Men said we should only have landowners vote. I wonder where I've heard that before. Damn, are you going to post this? Of course. Of course I'm going to post this. He said black people weren't slaves. Why did he mention George Floyd? I don't know. Somehow we got on the... Oh, we started talking about the Confederate flag at the insurrection. Then he tried to say that the insurrection wasn't an insurrection. Then he tried to say that the woman who got killed for trying to break into the literal chamber of Congress when the police said not to, it was justified because you guys justified George Floyd, and he used a counterfeit $20 bill, as if using a counterfeit $20 bill and breaking into the United States Capitol are anywhere near comparable. And then I asked him, are they the same thing? He goes, they're a federal crime. I said, okay, marijuana is illegal federally. Is that the same thing as breaking into the Capitol? It's a federal crime. Okay. If that's where your ideology leads you, okay. Okay. Oh my God. Wow. And he indicted himself. If there's anything that I can take away, I got a influencer with 1 million followers on Instagram to indict himself live in 4K. If that isn't reason to hit the subscribe button, I don't know what is. Please hit the subscribe button. Lord have mercy. Does he base all his morals off of federal crime? I don't know, honestly. Lord have mercy. Sometimes there's nothing you can do but laugh at people. Sometimes there's nothing you can do but laugh at people. And it was very funny. I prided myself on not getting angry. I just laugh because, like, you're a clown. Why would I get angry? If I get angry, then it means that, oh, I feel as though I'm losing, or if I feel as though, or I'm like, it's not even that I'm like not even passionate. It's just like, I'm passionate, but when you're saying obvious bullshit to me, I can't help but laugh. I don't care how serious you're trying to be. He probably was there sweating. Like, do you even hurt your head while debating, Joel? You know, there are two things that I do in my life that give me a headache every single time. Whenever I do Scholastic Bowl, which is like a Team Jeopardy club at my school, every time we're done with practice or a meet, I leave with a headache. The second thing is talking to idiots like Joel. I do have a slight headache that I can feel coming on, and I'm going to need to go eat food as soon as I hang up, as soon as I get off live. This was great. I appreciate everyone who's subscribing. I'm sorry I'm not shouting everyone out because it's happening a lot throughout this stream, but I love all of you. Thank you for doing it. I never seen someone commit a crime during a debate. Oh my gosh. Mans was playing Frogger, jumping from point to point. Exactly. No, I thought he was going to be I thought he was going to come with a lot more sources. I thought he was going to link me some things. I thought he was going to be a lot more well-kept. But then I remembered he's on Liberty Hangout with, what's the shotgun girl name? Not the shotgun girl. The gun girl name. What's her name? He's on Liberty Hangout with, what's her name? The woman who runs Liberty Hangout. She's like the most obvious idiot on the face of planet Earth. I can't think of her name. Oh, that's gonna eat me alive. But Caitlin Bennett. Yeah, Caitlin Bennett. The absolute brainlet that is Caitlin Bennett. He's on that show. I thought he was gonna be more fact oriented, you know? It's like all these people try to be Ben Shapiro, but they just, like, they find the money. They get to the money quickly because, like, especially when you're someone like Joe, you're a black conservative, you're going to get paid big bucks by the conservatives to voice your opinions and make it seem as though that's the real opinions of the black community. So they get to the money early, nice and early, but then they just forget to do the research, at least to look somewhat presentable, so that when you get them down and you sit down and talk to them, they think they can just shout you down until you actually know what the hell you're talking about. Lord have mercy. Miss Poopy Pants herself. Exactly. Ah, Lord. He's not brainwashed. His brain's just washed. That's a bar. That is a bar. were flaming his comments. Bro, you know it's an L. It's not like he's some small content creator, right? Guys, he has 1 million on Instagram. And I'm pretty sure he had way more than 600K on TikTok before his account got deleted or something like that. Dude has like just under 200,000 less followers than me on TikTok. As a whole, more people definitely know who he is than they do me. But when you make a video and you've taken so much of an L that all of your comments are just like, bro, you proved this point, or bro, this was bad, like, then you know you fucked up. There are people who I've gone after who have bigger followers than me, and that's not happened to me because I like to make sure that I'm factually correct on the shit that I say. This man really has 1 mil on Insta. Yes. I don't know how, bro. Get me there. Please get me there. Wow. Christian Walker type beat. Yep, Christian Walker did the good thing. He blocked me when I had like 60K. Christian got up out the way very quickly. Because then he could have been Joel just then. He has 1 million lemmings following him. Save the lemmings, JJ. Oh, Lord. Good job holding him accountable. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. He did start screaming. I wanna point that out. He did start screaming. That man definitely lost his cool a little bit. We need to get Will to Mill. that's the new screw JJ for president. We're going Will for Mill. Will for Mill. Oh, Lord. By the way, William's my middle name. My name's not actually Will. Is it over? Yes. Yes, it is. It was hilarious. Go back and watch it. You want to know that's another thing? And I was talking to some of my friends about it. One of the biggest and most important things that I think happens whenever I go and do these debates with people, it's not even necessarily like obviously I want to aim to try to convince as many people as possible, even though usually that doesn't really happen during debates. But like just even locally, people that I know, people that I go to school with, people that I talk to on a daily basis, people in my generation who aren't as in tune to politics as I am. It gives me it makes me feel super happy and like super appreciated when they can watch it and be like, oh yeah, no, he was obviously saying stupid stuff like da da da, and they are able to keep up what's going on, because these are people who don't keep up with politics every single day, but they know when somebody bullshitting, and they can look at a debate like I just had and be like, yo, what is he even talking about? Dude's all over the place. It's people like that you have to get. It's people like that you have to get, because I could spend all my time basking in the confidence and everything that you guys give me, which is very much appreciated. But a lot of you guys are super educated to the stuff that I talk about. When you're able to get basic, like, normal ass people, because I'm not normal, like normal ass people who don't really care that much about this, but they see this argument happening and they go, yo, that dude was a little bit off. What's going on here? That's when you get people to start paying a little bit more attention at least, and get people to get guided down the right path. But I appreciate each and every one of you. It's 4:25. I'll log off at 4:30, but until then, actually, no, I'm not gonna log off at 4:30. Let's actually pull up my TikTok. And let's actually take a look at the back and forth that me and Joel had, because we're just gonna act as though I didn't make any arguments. Okay, and this is playing audio. Hold on. Let's look at this. Okay, so this is what happened, right? So first let me turn this on. I originally made a video about Joel. Let's go back to this whole history with Joel, all right? This will be the last thing I do, and then I'll get off the stream, because I want to provide you guys with some full context for those of you guys who aren't aware. So, let me find this video about him. This was so long ago. It was here. This is what happened.
Bad that you want to ban people from.
So this person here goes, imagine your history being so bad that you want to ban people from learning it. And I believe in this video she goes on to talk about critical race theory.
Learning it.
This you did a little research and discovered that you are of Indian descent, not Native American, Indian, like from India. India.
And you
I'll just let Misa talk.
already missed. That's gotta be a world record. Because newsflash, a prerequisite of criticizing America has never been that you must solve or criticize the problems of whatever country happens to correspond with your ethnicity. Because if that was the case, you wouldn't be able to say shit either. Seeing as black people were, brought here, I'm looking forward to you going to Ancestry.com, finding out exactly what African country your ancestry goes back to, then criticizing that government first before saying shit.
So, what I meant by that, as if it needed to be explained, is that you immediately, what he just did right there is immediately an ad hominem. He heard whatever this woman had to say in this video, because I couldn't find the full original video. And instead of going, history, da-da-da, and actually engaging and arguing with the point that she made, he immediately goes, you're Indian. That's an ad hominem. That's a personal attack. Because her being Indian has nothing to do with the conversation at hand. Because he goes on to say, oh, there's still slavery happening in India. Not only is there still, and I go on to make this point, but not only is there still slavery happening in the United States because, the prison system, you saying, you can't criticize America because the country that corresponds with your ethnicity still has slavery, that doesn't mean anything because her job is not supposed to voice her concern. It'd be nice for her to voice her concerns about slavery in India, but if she's living here and she wants to critique the government here, your response to that is not to go, but in this other country that corresponds with your ethnicity, there's problems. No shit, there's problems everywhere. But this is just a way to deflect so you avoid criticizing America because, America's the best, can never be wrong.
You know what's interesting about India? They have the largest number of slaves anywhere on the planet. 18 million people are enslaved in India. So before you go...
So as soon as he said this, multiple things are going through my head. I'm like, okay, let's look at the validity of that claim, because a lot of people like to throw a lot of bullshit out there without checking it. Let's look at the validity. Let's attack the fact that this doesn't even mean anything, considering that she doesn't need to criticize India for its slavery to be able to criticize America for its history of slavery. And let's also shoot at the fact that this is literally not an argument. You are literally just avoiding criticizing America.
And lecture people with your reasons why critical race theory should be taught in schools, and talk to people about their questionable history. Let's talk about your questionable present.
And that claim is assuming that America's present has nothing to do with slavery, which not only is it inexorably linked, I think it's inexorably linked to slavery. It also is happening in the prison system. So yeah.
Well, you're purposely using the highest estimate. And the entirety of your video at this point is just one big red herring, considering the fact that slavery in India has nothing to do with this conversation.
William Ellison had 63 slaves. 63. You see what I meant by when we were talking about it, and I was like, you even bringing up the fact that there were black slave owners, considering that they owned 0.5% of the slave population, is literally irrelevant. Because when you're bringing up one black person that had 63 slaves, as if we're just going to ignore the multiple white families that had millions of slaves, this is not an argument that we're making. You're just jumping from point to point because you can't disprove anything. That's hilarious. 63. As if that has any comparison to the generational effects of black people who were... Okay.
Talk about how that report where you got the 18 million figure from also says that there's about 400,000 people living in slavery in the U.S.
This is also a great strategy you can use. Whenever a conservative or anybody cites something, go and read it, because the exact report that he used to say that slavery has the biggest, or India has the biggest slave population, literally says that there are 400,000 slaves in the U.S. So how did you step past that?
We could talk about how the 13th Amendment outlawed slavery except for as a punishment for crime. And would you look at that, we also have the highest incarceration rate in the world, with a disproportionate amount of those people being black. Liquid citation. We could talk about how...
And this was what I was talking about earlier with the prison system. This is the average pay across the United States for prisoners. The average pay, 14 cents. I think it's per hour.
If you're a prisoner getting paid at all, you're going to be making at maximum a whopping $141 an hour doing labor that makes the state billions of dollars a year. And also how
Exactly.
Arkansas,
At maximum $141 an hour.
Texas and Georgia
don't even pay you.
don't allow prisoners to get paid at all, and about how the Virginia Supreme Court declared that prisoners were slaves of the state, etc., and that's not even getting into human trafficking.
The country with the most slaves in the world. And you're here lecturing Americans who ended slavery within 100 years of the country becoming a country, and your country's still out there enslaving people.
G. Williker, that framing was crazy. A short list of countries that abolished slavery before the United States are Great Britain.
Yeah, he tried to make the argument, oh, but America was one of the first countries to abolish. Shut up. Like, not even first. He's like, oh, they abolished it super early in its existence. Yeah, because worldwide slavery was already phasing out around the time of America coming to be. And also, it didn't get phased out completely because of the 13th Amendment. And also, it took a fucking civil war. So, if you're gonna give America flowers for ending slavery, don't. Don't. It's good we got there eventually, but don't be like, oh, they're one of the first ones to do it, or they did it very early on in their history, because it took a lot of trials and tribulations to even get us here, and the world was already phasing it out.
Mexico, Haiti, France, Denmark, Chile, Uruguay, Bolivia, Greece, Serbia, Ecuador, Argentina, Peru, Venezuela, Moldavia, Wallachia, and the Netherlands. And that's only in the 1800s. So not only was the US one of the last countries to formally outlaw slavery, countries around the world, including India and the United States, are still actively dealing with slavery. In conclusion, this has been a crash course in why not to believe in American exceptionalism. And once again, even if America didn't currently practice slavery and India did, still doesn't mean you can't criticize America's past. But the first step to actually solving problems is acknowledging that they exist. Sitting back and thinking that the US is the best already or good enough does about as much as what you did with this video. Fuck all.
Tell me what I was factually incorrect on in that video. Where's the debate? The debate already happened. So that was the beginning. He didn't respond to me in a video. He came in my comment section, said some bullshit, and then that was it. That video was made...
Imagine your history being...
on December 15th, 2021. So then if we fast forward all the way up here to this video that this person made...
Person says they hit a black person, they're automatically racist and are probably gonna get the cops called on them.
There are many more things she said, but I need enough time to debunk this black woman.
First of all, turn your stitches on. But that was a little forward. Are you sure you don't want to check that everything that first person said wasn't bullshit before you leap to defend her?
When we look at it in the context of America, obviously if you're upholding a traditional America ideas, that includes racism and racist ideas.
Again, this back and forth between me and Eastside Live had nothing to do with Joel Patrick. But he saw something that I said in this video and tried to respond in the most weak way possible.
During Jim Crow, the racist ones were the Democrats, not the conservatives. So when conservatives talk about traditional values, racism is not a part of it.
Alright, nope. Let the black on black crime commence.
Wait, did you guys catch that?
The racist ones were the Democrats, not the conservatives.
Alright, quick A-push lesson. Democrat, political party. Conservative, ideology. So yeah, the Democrats were the racist ones. They were also conservative, hence why the Republicans were the ones pledging to protect black voting rights, while Democrats in the South were embracing white supremacy and calling themselves stuff like the Conservative Party of Alabama.
You notice how none of them ever come to terms with the sources that I use or go and read my own source to see if I'm misrepresenting anything. They just ignore everything that I put in. These videos take a long time to make. These videos on TikTok do take me a decent amount of time. They never go and try to deconstruct it and see where they just put their own misleading shit there, and then it's up to me to go look at it and disprove it because they're being factually inaccurate. Like they just go and present their own thing as if this is up for debate. No, this is factually like what?
Not to mention, those were Democrats that seceded after the election of a Republican president and fought a war flying a particular flag that now appear at an insurrection that took place in support of a Republican president.
He will go on to try to say that this flag here is not actually the Confederate flag. That was like the first point of the argument that we just had. When that's your first point, you lost.
I wonder if maybe political parties are complex entities that keep evolving with time, hence why they don't believe the exact same shit they did 150 years ago.
However, when people say they don't like white people, it's coming from a place of trauma, really, in our experiences, not only in our modern day, but generational trauma that comes along with it.
Number one, we do not go through any type of trauma today, and generational trauma doesn't exist. It has been debunked multiple times.
I'm sorry. Debunked by who? Oh no, I didn't realize that we had to have fucking evidence before we made claims. And even if you're scared of talking about generational trauma, let me provide a little bit of a thought experiment. In the context of American society, American history, and present day, What effect has black people as a demographic saying they don't like white people
I'll be a politician eventually. Don't worry about that.
had on white people? Okay, now what effect has white people as a demographic saying they don't like black people had on black people? And before the enlightened centrists come in and say, oh, no one should dislike anyone. Yeah, no shit. But there's a difference between believing what things ought to be and realizing that when things like housing have been historically controlled to exclude black people to the greatest extent possible, and then, oh, would you look at that?
By the way, landowners, you're the only ones who get to vote. Meanwhile, we live in a country that has literally practiced redlining and housing discrimination to make sure black people could not own homes. But that's not a racist talking point, going back to only landowners own it. What the
Black people's median and mean wealth.
And when you have a 30-year mortgage from the bank, you do not own that yet. You do not own it. You essentially are paying it off until the 30 years is up if you can manage all those payments with interest. Because the moment you don't pay it, they're not like, oh, it's technically still your property. No, it's theirs. Pain.
Is less than 15% that of white people. Sure, one of them is something that's mean and that you shouldn't do, but not only is the other one mean, it's happened repeatedly and enough to set back an entire demographic of people.
When anyone is unjustly killed by an officer, it is not okay, no matter what color you
Exactly.
are. But the reason we put emphasis on black people who are shot by the police is because it happens at a higher rate.
Yeah, she's right about that. Where is she? Ma'am, looks like you're wrong.
She said rate. Using the most recent census data, the amount of white people in the country is about 6 times higher than the amount of black people in the country. So if we're looking at your data table for 2021 and 2020, if everything's happening proportionally, this top number here should be roughly 6 times as big as this number. Yet for 2021 it was 1.7 times bigger, and for 2020 it was 1.9 times bigger. That's called disproportionality, meaning it's happening at a higher rate.
I don't know who said if you don't support BLM, you hate every other race
Every
but
black
your
person on the
own,
planet?
but...
I look forward to your survey of every black person on the planet.
I'm gonna say what you black people always say to white people.
And yes, hold on tightly to that phrase, you black people, and keep convincing yourself mirrors don't exist. Have a nice night.
Fun fact, the guy in that video still says, oh, this is some things I hate when the Negroes say it, which means he's knee-deep in the damn Kool-Aid now. But that was the video that had nothing to do with Joel, that Joel decided to stick his neck into right here. Actually, he made a video about this video that we talked about towards the end of that debate that also had nothing to do with him, and he just completely changed whatever I was talking about. And then he responded to me in this video with this one here.
You told him to turn his stitches on, but you turned yours off. So first of all, turn your stitches on.
Oh, you've now made 2 videos about me that should have stayed in the drafts, because I'm finna make you look dumb twice. But starting with this one. Number 1, my stitches and duets are on, and I usually have them set to be on automatically for whatever video I make. And sometimes they get turned off because the video is over a minute long, which admittedly is something that the guy who made the video I responded to could have had happen. The difference being I make sure all my videos are savable, just in case duets and stuff get turned off and you have something to say to me, which is exactly how you made your video. I couldn't even save the first guy's video, which means if I wanted to respond, I had to physically screen record it. So we start off with a failed gotcha. Next. Not to mention those were Democrats that seceded after the election of a Republican president and fought a war flying a particular flag that now appear at an insurrection that took place in support of a Republican president.
I want you guys to pay attention to something right here.
My boy, Google is your friend. Google the Confederate flag, and then show me where the actual...
The real Confederate flag. You got the stars and the bars. You got the stars and bars. You got the stars and bars. You got star... What is this? What's this? What's this? Could this be a Confederate flag that I see? Could it possibly be that this is the flag that represents the entire Confederacy and this is the battle flag? Could it be such? Because, you know, you Googled the real Confederate flag and this one still popped up, so I'm pretty sure people aren't making that shit up. Google's my friend, apparently. It probably isn't yours. He said, you can't say Confederate battle flag without saying Confederate flag. This was the first point of the argument that I apparently didn't make a single point about. That he debunked himself in a video that he made before any of this debate even happened. Because if you scroll in your screenshot, he cut the screenshot like this instead of like putting it up the full length. Because if you scroll for literally half a millisecond, you see the Confederate flag. What? Couldn't even crop right. You should have just cut it off right there. We really want to mislead people. But I didn't make an argument.
Actual Confederate flag appeared.
He posted a new video? No way. No way. No way. I'm gonna go check it on my... Nah, let's go watch it here. I hope he didn't. I really hope he didn't. I truly hope he
told him-
didn't. He needs to quit digging the hole.
There are people that think that I was inside of the Capitol on January 6th.
Oh my god! Oh, of course!
Okay, so apparently, there are people that think that I was inside of the Capitol on January 6th. I wasn't inside the Capitol. I was just in Washington, D.C., in eyesight of what was happening, and I was like, yo, that doesn't look like what they're doing over there. Seems like a good idea.
Okay.
If you're wondering about the validity of that, well, Vice did an entire documentary about my opinion on January 6th. And if you want to, you can go watch it. Just type in the legendary Black Redneck into YouTube and pull up the Vice video. I was not inside the Capitol. I did not participate in the insurrection. But that's totally not even relevant to
This man got smoked in a debate and had to go outside. I'm just saying.
the argument that we were having. But what I will say is, JJ, just because people that support you agree with you, that doesn't make you right. You're like,
The reason why I'm right is not because you guys agree with me. The reason why I'm right is because I'm factually correct. If we're just sticking with the theme of saying blatantly obvious shit today, like when you said 100% of the BLM riots were riots, no shit, bud. The reason why I'm right is because I'm right. Not because of whoever agrees with me.
you're like, oh, they were in your comments dragging you. Yeah, because you did a live stream with all of your followers. If you want me to get you dragged, you can come over to Instagram and we can have a debate, and I can promise you my followers won't disappoint. But clearly, when you play a game at a home field, your fans are going to root for you. That doesn't...
I don't care about who roots for who or what. The reason why I'm correct is because I'm factually correct. You're right if we went on Instagram... Well, if we went on Instagram because you have 1 million followers and they like your music or some shit, yeah, I'd get some comments. Would I care? Would it ruin my credibility? No! You want to know why it wouldn't ruin my credibility? Because I'm correct. Yeah, people can root for you, but if they're just blindly rooting for you and you're not correct, then that's unfortunate. Yeah, sure, your fans might outnumber my fans, but I don't care because I'm right. You could get however many fans on Instagram you can to spam my whatever post I make with, oh, Joel won. He did it because I was right. And the video evidence is on TikTok and in this live stream. What?
make you right. It just means that your fans root for you. Oh, anyway, you never answered my question about whether or not you've ever had a job. Because if you'd had a job, you would have paid taxes, and you would have known what it's like to pay for something that someone else is benefiting from.
No, I know what it's like to pay for something that we all benefit from. And first of all, this is my job. Hold on. My camera died. I'm switching out the battery. But first of all, this is my job. I plan on having this be my job for a long time. Second of all, I have been paid for multiple ways in which I had to fill out what was it? A W-2 or W-9? I forget the actual name of the thing. Where I do have taxes taken out of that. And do I sit back and be resentful and be like, oh, nah, no, because I understand the concept of, hey, if we want roads and we want everything that comes along with society, then yeah, you're going to have to pay taxes. I don't care. And what the fuck does that have to do with anything? I could have said no and it would have still been perfectly as valid because I am a minor. Bro.
But hit me back when you get a job. Okay, so...
This is my job. Ethering goofies like you is my job, and I want to do it full time. And thank you for helping me do it full time. Because I would be wanting to watch this content too if I was you, so you know.
First of all, turn your stitches on.
You told him to turn his stitches on. but you turned yours
Getting
off.
back to what we were
Friend,
doing.
when you're doing, how do you say, me search over research? Because I wonder if maybe, just maybe, both of these flags were used at the same time. And maybe if you typed in something like, I don't know, Confederate battle flag instead of the real Confederate flag, then you'd find the flag that many people fly today, and oh, would you look at that, the insurrection. And while we were scrolling right there, it showed a graphic of the many flags of the Confederacy.
This is the screenshot. This is the thing in his screenshot. The full thing is the stars and bars, the battle flag, the camp flag, and then this is the last flag of the Confederacy. That's literally in his screenshot that he used, but he didn't fucking say that.
The first one being the one that you showed, and the second one being the battle flag. That battle flag was then co-opted as a symbol of anti-civil rights when
Oh, and it's funny that he tried to say I didn't make the point about this, but then I was like, no, that is a Confederate flag, and that was the flag that was co-opted by racist people to, like, I think already on the basis of what the Confederate flag represents, meaning fighting a war over slavery, I already think that that's racist in itself. But if you're not convinced by that, the fact that literal white supremacists also literally co-opted it as their symbol against civil rights and the KKK and everything like that, that would definitely mean that flag does not mean what you think it means any longer, even if you think it stands for Southern heritage or whatever. And I brought up the Nazi example, and he was fucking stumped when I said that. Like,
pro-segregation Democrats in the South split off to form the Dixiecrats due to them being upset that the Democratic Party was embracing civil rights. It was also used as a form of intimidation from citizens' councils in the South and, by the way, the KKK. And after all that, it was that flag that was flown at that insurrection.
If we're going to call January 6th an insurrection, based on this definition, then you can also call...
He brought up this point out of nowhere and then tried to say I was arguing semantics. He tried to say if we're going to call January 6th an insurrection by this definition, then we can call everything with Black Lives Matter one. And then I blew him the fuck out on that, and then he tried to say I brought up semantics.
Every single violent Black Lives Matter rally an insurrection based on that definition. And those were all perpetrated by Democrats.
So 1 second they were BLM riots, but now because we're trying to play mental gymnastics...
And these goofies were calling it BLM riots all of the last, 2 years, so I don't want to hear shit from him.
They were technically insurrections. Looking at that insurrection definition, a violent uprising against an authority or government. The January 6th insurrection was against the government, so that is an insurrection. Now if we're looking at the definition of riot, a violent disturbance of the peace by a crowd, seems like it fits a lot more with what you were describing with Black Lives Matter. But that insurrection definition also looks like it could. So what does it mean by authority? Because that seems kind of vague. We're looking at the legal definition. Organized and usually violent act of revolt or rebellion against an...
Here. Myself right there is gonna go on to blow this nigga out about this, but let's be real here. What happened with the Capitol was an insurrection by the definition that he even used. If we're looking at the legal definition of an insurrection, this is what that was. If we're trying to apply this to Black Lives Matter, a riot or whatever conflict that happened between Black Lives Matter protesters and the police, okay? An organized and usually violent act of revolt or rebellion against an established government. Okay, let's pause right there. Are the police an established government? No. Okay. Or governing authority. Are the police a governing authority? No. They do not have any governing authority at all. Governing authority of a nation state or other political entity by a group of its citizens or subjects. Do the police have citizens or subjects? No. They are served to keep the people's peace, to protect private property, to protect property rights in general. That's what they do. They do not have any governing authority. They do not have any citizens or subjects. They are not an established government. So any resistance to the police during a Black Lives Matter demonstration is not an insurrection by definition. If Black Lives Matter protesters went and stormed the damn Capitol and ran inside trying to stop the government from confirming an election, that would be, an insurrection.
Established government or governing authority of a nation state or other political entity by a group of its citizens or subjects. A protest of police brutality that results in a riot is not an uprising against a nation state or governing body. So no, the BLM riots
that happen 6% of the time
were not insurrections, but nice try though.
Went on in your video to also cite the fact that white people in general had a higher average median income than black people, and you said that was because of generational trauma.
Nope, I said it was a product of anti-black racism, not generational trauma.
But
I said that when you're looking at what effect has white people saying they don't like black people had on black people, You get things like the median income being way lower. You get things like redlining, KKK, Jim Crow laws, everything like that. That's what I meant by that.
But you didn't mention that Asians had an even higher median net income than white people. And Asians literally were put in concentration camps within the last 75 years in the United States.
Not all Asians, not even a majority. They were Japanese people, a subsect of Asians. It was for...
This is why we got on the topic of slavery, because he's trying to say that because Asians were put in internment camps for 4 years during World War II, and they have a higher median income than white people, that means that black people have no excuse or some shit. As if 300 years of slavery and sharecropping, Jim Crow, redlining, the Reagan administration, the Nixon administration, all these fucking things that happened, as if that's anywhere close to being comparable to 4 years of internment where they made money and got reparations. This is not an argument. This is you being stupid. And this is me showing your followers that you're being stupid or intentionally misleading. For his sake, I hope he genuinely believes in everything that he says. Exactly. Do you know how big Asia is? You're saying one demographic of 120,000 Japanese people? Or it means that Asian people have been held back? No, the people that were held back for those 4 years were Asian, but Asian people have not been systemically held back to the same extent that black people have. Those are two completely different statements. Asia is a goddamn continent. Huge. Wow.
4 years, not 300. It was 120,000, not 6 to 7 million in the 18th century alone. And they received reparations. Black people did not. So it's not comparable. Stop using that trash talking point. You can catch the smoke again later. First of all, turn your stitches on.
You told him to turn his stitches on.
I literally dismantled every single point that he made in his video.
So first of all, turn your stitches on.
Joel,
every single one. And then he came back with some more bullshit.
Insurrection was against the government.
Okay, well, we could call it the Capitol riot. And since you said that the BLM protesters only protested against police brutality,
I'm not even going to really cover this video. If you guys want to, please go watch it on TikTok, because this is the beginning of the shotgunning. This is the beginning of the shotgunning. The first time I made a video about him when he was talking about that one Indian woman, he didn't do this, thank the Lord, because I was not going to go back and forth with him like that, and I chose not to go back and forth with him like this anymore, which is why we just had our debate. He didn't do this thing where it was just shotgunning, da-da-da, probably because it was harder to throw out a bunch of shotgun points. But he has all these talking points down packed. So, as soon as one video gets blown the fuck out the water, he can find his way to throw out a billion other points that don't make sense. And I have to be on the defense, replying to all of them. Which is why, in a debate where I have to assert myself and make sure you realize that you look stupid, and this is why... And then I have to take initiative to end up kicking him from the call because he's just unhinged and won't stop with all his shotgun arguments. That's why I won. I won because I'm factually incorrect. I made it abundantly clear that I'm factually incorrect by the fact that you kept jumping all over the points and I was the one disproving your points. And yeah, that's why I won. That's not, it has nothing to do with my fans. It has nothing to do with, oh, home turf, da-da-da. It's nice. But at the end of the day, if I come up here and I say, slavery actually didn't have a big effect on black people because, you know, they could just choose to be, if I repeated factually incorrect talking points, they would tell me that I'm factually incorrect. I just made a video where someone called me out because I said that the National Guard is a state-based military unit that can be folded in with the rest of the military in times of war. And someone was like, yeah, you're right, but the only thing you kind of got wrong was that it's not only for times of war that they can be it doesn't have to be a time of war for it to be folded in. And I looked it up and I was like, okay, yeah. It said for like federal missions or other things like that. And then I let him know, yeah, okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I did get that wrong. Because we don't fetishize personality as much. People will still be like, oh, and get really in tune with content creators' personality and everything when you're talking about politics. But your personality only gets you so far on the left, really. Because if I say some stupid shit, they'll let me know that I said some stupid shit. Because we're not drones. Oh my gosh. I'm watching the replay now and this talk about beginning the clock at 1776 is sending me. Exactly. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, mercy. I hope you guys did enjoy it. My voice is being lost because you can only scream into the void so much. Not really though, but I'm hungry. I done put in the work for y'all. It's about to be a 2-hour live stream. I love each and every one of y'all. I appreciate you guys so much. Conservatives are something else. Exactly. As someone who loves studying history, this made me happy, but he made me cringe. Like, who was he performing for with the facts? He started spouting off the lost cause myth. That was like a debate that I was battle tested for. I've seen all those talking points so many times. I was just ready. Nice dreads. They're not even dreads right now. I'm starting to decide whether or not I'm gonna dread them. These are twists. I've been twisting my own hair for a while now, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to actually dread them because my cousin just got dreads and I don't want to copy. So I might keep them like this. But anyway, I appreciate all of y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go eat your main course because you hate them alive. I appreciate y'all. Hell yeah. And we will see y'all. I'll see y'all later, whether it be on TikTok or on here again. I'm definitely going to be posting on here a lot more. So thank all of you for subscribing. I hope you guys enjoy what you saw. And, yeah. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do that. Have an awesome day and night wherever you are. And peace. Love you guys.